and as Jared just said, in that match against Fnatic, controlling Woundman in key moments, but at the same time, SKEU Enigmas, he's just played pretty much. That team has played perfect so far, and that's how their record sits right now. So we'll have to see if something's going to change. But Game 1 getting ready between SKEU and Team EG, going to be played on Ruins of Lordaeron.
And since we have been told the comps already, we do know that it is going to be the Shadowcleave versus the RLS. And I don't see any odd comps or any odd talent switches. We do see Smattens is running the full PvP gear, it does look like, with that 130 energy.
So a little change there from what we've seen in that last series, which is this exact same setup. But on the right side of your screen, at the top, of course, that's In Flames on Warlock. Spider makes another on DK, and Enigmas on Druid. On the left side, as a Azale on Warlock, Smattens on Rogue, and Tenderloins on Shaman.
So let's take a look at Spider-Man this time to see if he plays a little bit different from BHMS's DK.
And now one of the big things to note whenever we were watching Yogg in the RLS is that he was putting out an intense amount of pressure, usually topping, I believe there's only one game where Stutz did out-damage him, even having Eben play in his setup. So we'll have to see if Azale opts to go for about the same route and just keep the damage rolling.
And that's what they need to do. When the Bloodlust is up, they have to make something happen. If this game drags out longer than the Bloodlust, it's going to be over for this RLS.
All right, here we go. I'm really looking to Smattens to get this game started, but another not jumping over the sarcophagus. He's going to stay off to the side. We do see Pets going in, trying to prevent that sap. Now Smattens does have another targeted sprint is used, and here we go. There's a cheap shot onto another already, and dots are starting to roll. Early blind onto Enigmas, and there's those change of ice. Death coil onto another. He's dropping below 15,000, but dots, hots are rolling. Under 10K at this point. Spell lock onto Enigmas, but still able to pick him up a little bit. And here we go, seeing it once again. Smattens with that patented chains of ice spam onto him. And Another's just going to be able to kite away until Enigmas can get hots rolling and keep him up.
And SKEU doing a great job of living through that crowd control. We saw a Hex on the In Flames at the same time that spell lock. But look, here comes the damage onto Smatten. He's bouncing up and down from half. He has that Gargoyle on him, has evasion up right now. Tenderloin's at half also, with the Earth Shield on himself instead of Smatten.
And now we see he's going to pick himself up a little bit, but he's also got to worry about Smattens, and there's those fears coming through. He's going to break that immediately, and Lust has fallen. We do see a Cyclone onto Azale. Tenderloin's in a very bad position, and as you see, another's trying to get across to him. Strangulate used, but he's at 16,000 HP and just trying to get back around. Now, one thing is, with Tenderloins having to use Earth Shield on himself, not going to have much longevity. Smatten's dropping down to 10,000 HP. In comes the Riptide picking him up. We do see a fear onto another, but things looking good for SKEU at this point, as Smatten's once again still not above 10,000 HP, and there's that Arcane Tort on the Tenderloins, down to 6k HP, dropping very low. There's NS topping Tenderloins back up, but Smatten still dotted up, bouncing around 15,000. But look over to another in a kidney shot, 5,000 HP down to 3k. AMS will go up, and finally some hot's going to come across and start picking him back up, but Smattens is going to go down in the process, and it's just too much damage from SKEU against this RLS. Smattens the Rogue goes down. Tenderloins all the way throughout that match was in a lot of trouble as well.
He was, and very interesting target choices for EG. It looked like we had Smattens on the feed for a little while, and he was swapping back and forth. He was going for Enigmas for a little while, swapped back onto another, and then looked like he was choosing to go back onto Enigmas.
Making a quick note of the damage breakdown, we look to Inflame 164,000, Azale 155,000. So Inflame's doing just a little bit more damage, but definitely a difference between this series and the last.
Yeah, with the damage being kind of close, you look at Bloodlust being able to get your dots up faster, making sure you're going to get that UA off, or you do have the Ebb and Plague. So they're about the, looks like in a long game, it balances out pretty well.
And in that game, Tenderloins taking 103,000 damage, so a lot of damage taken by Tenderloins throughout that game.
They were doing a great job of spreading the damage out. That point when Tenderloins decided to use Earth Shield on himself instead of Smattens, it picked himself back up quickly, but again, you talk about the longevity and not having that Water Shield up at all times.
Now these two teams should be queuing up any moment, but as you see, right now we are looking at SKEU, and that's a Wound Mana Fnatic. Looking a little long and drawn there, even after winning their series. And here we go, Ruins of Lordaeron going up, and this is SKEU versus Team EG. It's not Woundman versus Europe, I promise. And we're going to go into the arena on Ruins of Lordaeron. Left side of your screen, that's Team EG. On the right, SKEU.
So since this is the second round of this matchup, we do have no talent changes, no spec changes, no class changes allowed. So these guys are running the exact same that they were last time. Smatten's still having that 130 energy, and everyone's hit point looks to be about the same.
And now in this game, really SKEU looking dominant. Even though they put a good amount of pressure onto another, it's still, I don't know, not as scary as whenever you saw Smatten's go down. I mean, the amount of damage that this setup can put out over time is pretty absurd. And as this game carried on, you saw it, bloodlust faded, and there just wasn't enough pressure to put a target down.
Now, one of the reasons why another was able to live through that burst is Enigmas was never in a position where he had to use his trinket up until that point. What this RLS team of Fnatic needs to do is they need to get in Enigma's face, drop a big fear on him with a lot of damage onto another, and try to get him to trinket early.
All right, here we go. Smatten's taking it nice and easy as this shadow setup is going to come across. And here we go. We see the pets going in and a Shadow Flame coming out from him. Flame's trying to see if he can get a pop onto Smatten's, but it's not going to get him just yet. And we do see him go ahead, and he's going to open up onto another. A few dots rolling, and now another kind of caught out into the middle of the arena. And Smatten's, there we go. We see those chains of ice, and he's just going to try to bounce away and get away. But Smatten's able to stick to him. But look at the damage onto Smatten's, down to 8,000 HP. In comes some heals from Tenderloins, but Arcane Torn on both of them. He's dropping very low as well. Spelllock a little late. Oh, wow, they were almost able to put him down at the beginning of this game. Now more pressure onto another. Dots are ticking, but Smatten's just unable to stick to his target at this point. As you see, Chains of Ice continuously being used. Now Tenderloin's down to around 13,000, picking himself back up, but a little bit of damage rolling onto Inflames, but most of the pressure is going to be on another, it looks like.
Enigmas did have to trinket right there, so it is looking good for this RLS team of Fnatic.
And now we see Tenderloins taking damage down to 7,000 HP, but another's going to go down, but look at the Strangulate onto Tenderloins before he dies. He will get the NS off, but Smatten's still in trouble. 6,000 HP. Tenderloins trying to pick him up. 4,000 HP. Tenderloins trying to get across to him, but look at Enigma's trying to prevent those heals from going through. Oh, wow, and Smatten's finally picked up, and it looks like this Team EG is going to turn it around and make it 1-1.
Now, if you saw that crowd control chain, if you have the HD, you need to rewind to watch what happened to Tenderloins. He honestly had maybe a global to work with. He was feared, he was spell locked, he was strangulated, he was gnawed. I mean, everything was there, spell lock, and he still was able to keep Smatten's up.
And now looking at the damage breakdown in this series, Azael doing about 30,000 more than Inflames, so picking it up a little bit in this game. But honestly, look over to another's damage. He spent so much time kiting Smatten's, he never really put out a lot of pressure himself.
He did. Now how about this, 1-1, and both these teams have to be feeling confident after that round because, you know, even though SKEU played that match great, they still lost.
All right, so we will give these teams a little bit of time to decide if they want to change anything up. They're allowed to talk it over, change comps if they want to, but I kind of think both of them, even sitting 1-1, they're just going to go with it. And it looks that way as the Grand Arena is going to go ahead and pop. So these two teams ready to go at it once again. Team EG bouncing back very well in that game. Honestly, sticking on to another, putting out plenty of damage all the way through, making it past those defensive cooldowns, and just keeping with it. And it looks like that. I honestly expect them to do the same thing. Smatten's going to take that slow, easy approach, let another put himself in that bad position. So Smatten's, even if he is getting Chains of Ice, he will have the opportunity to get the early pressure.
Looks like they have found the secret to beating this this European team, and it is going to be to train another down. Every time that he's not staying offensive, their damage drops so much.
The scary thing is, though, you are leaving the best Warlock in the world to do whatever he pleases, pretty much. So really looking to Inflame. If they do go for the same strat, I expect it for his damage just to scale through the roof and him just to dot up everything, but he also has to, at the same time, make sure his fears are at the right moment. When another's in trouble and when Enigma's feared, and Flames really has to take the game over for his team.
So we'll have to see if they can bounce back from that last round. Currently it is 1-1. coming into this next round. I mean, we do play every round out, like we always say, because it will matter into making it into the Final Four on Sunday.
And now we will follow Smattens out of the gate, see what opener he does go for. This is Game 3 between SKEU and Team EG, tied up 1-1. Once again, we do see that DK Warlock of SKEU kind of coming across the middle of the arena, but you see he's kind of positioned over towards the pillar a little bit just in case. But another actually going to go ahead and run into their pillar and start this game out. We do see Sprint being hit by Smattens, and it actually looks like he's going to open onto Inflame, so a little bit of a change-up from Team EG, but immediately gripped over by another, and now Smattens just in a bad position, going to try to get back over, and it looks like they're going to put down the pet of another, so at least stopping a little bit of that damage and no gnaw for a little bit. Smattens with a lot of dots rolling onto him, bouncing around 15,000 HP Gargoyle already used, and now Azael getting damage rolling onto another of SKEU. Will Portal out of there, and it looks like they're actually going to try, he's going to get some dots up onto the pet of Inflames. It's very low, 2,500 HP. A Life Bloom's coming across, and Searing Pain's coming through as they're trying to drop it, and Inflames pet will go down. But look at Enigma's actually letting himself drop down to 10,000 HP. Azael getting a little low, and finally there's the Innervate onto Enigma's. We'll have to see if Tenderloin's able to do something about it, but it looks like he's going to decide to drink himself, and he's not actually going to get a tick off, but he was going for it there. And another grip as another's just going to control Smattens throughout this game. Smattens
was trying to kill the pet, and we saw a big funnel right there by Inflames. But Inflames having to tap right there out of mana, and Enigma's still doing a great job on mana, about half. Has his Bark Skin up right now.
And Tenderloin actually in a little bit of trouble having to use NS as he got around the backside of that pillar. But look over to Enigma's dropping below 10,000 inside that spell lock. Will use his HP clicky, dropping down to 8,600. Those dots are rolling, but Smatten's unable to get over to him, so it's just the dots of Azael doing damage at this point. But Smatten's himself dropping down to 10,000 HP with a full line of dots. 8,000 HP. In comes a Riptide, followed by a heal, picking him up a little bit. Tenderloins will trinket that Death Coil and a Devour shortly after, so a little bit of a mess up there, but Smatten's down to 5,000 HP, getting picked up a little bit. AMC going thrown up. Smatten's in a lot of trouble, and down goes Smatten's. SKEU gonna drop the rogue of Team EG, and it looks like they're gonna go ahead and clean this up as Tenderloins is almost tapped at this point. And SKEU gonna go ahead and return the favor, making it 2-1 over EG.
Great play by Azael there. He identified exactly when he needed to switch to Enigma's to try to toss out some damage. Unfortunately, Smattens wasn't there to back it up. I mean, Enigma's life was bouncing from half to full a few times that match.
And again, the damage breakdown, Azael 244,000, Inflames 170k. So Azael still putting out a lot of damage, but I still think the damage they actually managed to get out onto Enigma's, it was pretty much wasted, as Enigma's was completely safe as Smattens is being controlled by another, unable to get anywhere close to Enigma's.
As you can see on your screen, that 244,000 by Azael when these matches last a long time. You know, Warlocks, if they're not forced into a defensive position, Inflames for a while was having to keep track of his pet. You know, and you saw Enigma's constantly spamming heals on it. But look at the amount of healing from Enigma's. 466,000.
And one thing to note as well, damage received by SKEU pretty much evenly split across all three players. About a little over 70,000 for each player. So split damage coming out from the RLS of Team EG, but unable to score a kill at any point. And Smatten's he was taking so much damage as another did put up that AMZ. And so as you see on your screen, we got these guys sitting down, and we're going to go ahead and go into the next game. It is going to be on Blades Edge Arena for Game 4 between SKEU and Team EG. SKEU can take the series right here, but Team EG needs to stop them if they want to take a win.
Now, Blades Edge Arena, we've seen some pretty crazy fears so far in this tournament. You know, maybe that'll be a deciding factor, you know, which Warlock hits the fear.
And once again, it does appear that it is Woundman versus Europe, but I promise you it isn't. It's going to be Team EG against SKEU. And now we're on Blades Edge Arena. It is always an interesting map when you have Warlocks, because if a melee class decides to pursue a Warlock and his portal is up top, you're going to see the same trick as always. The Warlock jumps off. Do I chase? Do I not chase? Because he always has the option to portal back up, and also giving that extra room to Enigmas to do whatever he decides to do.
On your screen right now, that is Azael in the front of the screen. You can see him rocking those gunner glasses. He's had those a long time.
He's been wearing them for quite a while. So the man to watch will be Smattens. We'll get an in-game camera for you in just a moment as these gates are about to open. And Smattens really going to have to be the guy that decides at what pace this game will go at, as the opener will decide what this RLS is going to do.
All right, and we're going to follow in flames out of the start. I believe a lot of people want to see just how great this Warlock is. I mean, Azael has been in the tournament scene for a long time as a Warlock, but facing against someone like In Flames, it's got to be intimidating.
And now we see that that ghoul of another coming in and starting the fight out. And now we see a few dots coming across onto another and Azael just kind of bouncing back and forth. Smatten's not going to start just yet. There's the sprint, and he's going to go ahead and go onto another this time. This worked for them before, but they changed it up the last game. But a lot of hots rolling onto another, finally dipping below 20,000. But look at Smatten, drops below 10,000 like it's nothing. And look at the amount of damage being pumped into him. Caught into a gnaw, 4,000 HP, and down goes Smatten's. SKEU makes it look easy, scoring a kill onto the rogue of Team EG.
All right, I know we were going to follow In Flames because you guys wanted to see how an amazing Warlock plays, but he wasn't touched at all. No crowd control whatsoever. He basically had his way with Smattens that entire fight. You know, loaded him up with hots, got that haunt UA off, and just spammed Searing Pain into him, and he went down.
So Smatten's only doing 16,000 as he died very quickly in that game. Tenderloin's doing 107,000 healing, but just not enough. Actually, 172,000. I don't know why mine actually says something different, but it just wasn't enough to keep up Smatten's scoring a quick kill. We are going to play out that fifth game between these two teams, as it may be a deciding factor later on in the tournament, but SKEU winning another series already at 3-1, but not a perfect record anymore. We'll see if Team EG can do anything in this fifth game.
So we've had pretty good map selection this round so far. But with these two teams, I mean, how many maps would play into favor one versus the other? I mean, you know the big classes that make a difference on maps. I mean, obviously Hunters and ROV. You know, that's one thing. But, you know, Druids and Warlocks tend to like the same kind of maps.
You could play that last game out on just about any map, I think, unless you would pick Dalaran with a waterfall in the middle of it. But it was quick and dirty, and SKEU knew what they wanted to go for. Their synergy is amazing, and they're looking very strong in this tournament already.
They certainly are. I mean, 5-0ing, and now they're in a place to 4-1 the next team. I mean, that's putting him in great position.
And here we see SKEU, the European team that's come in and so far dominated on the right side of your screen. In Flames, another, and Enigmas. In Flames, considered the best Warlock in the world, and so far he's proven it pretty well. He's been the guy to watch, and when left alone, makes a team pay for it. And we will get this fifth game going any second here as these two teams are queuing up. And now on the left side, you're taking a look at EG. EG got to be feeling a little rough at this point.
Yeah, I mean, these matches, a couple of them were close, and except for that last one, I mean, you cannot let In Flames free.
So EG sitting in this tournament now at 0-2. Their chances of making it in Sunday are getting thinner and thinner. And honestly, what do you think this team needs to do?
I mean, EG has to bounce back, and it's tough to say what exactly is going wrong. You know, hopefully it's just a little strategy miscommunication.
EG talking it over a little bit, but we do see our admins, Ryan Moore and one of the Trans Twins standing out behind them. They should be getting them queued up in just a second here, but after the second and fourth games, both teams will have a few minutes to talk things over and maybe make up a change. Maybe SKU will come out slinging that Mage Warlock Druid we saw them do in that fifth game last night.
Slinging it.
Something like that, at least. While we have a little bit of downtime, we will go over to the Ask the Cast thread that is on gotfrag.com on the forums under the WoW general discussion. And we've been going through that throughout the weekend so far. So please, if you have any questions you'd like for Jared or I to answer, we'll try to get to them.
Yeah, and if you have any questions for the players specifically, if you can track down JP, he's the person to ask on those.
Okay, down to 887, Booth's asking, what do you think of WLD? Do you think it's a good comp to do on live currently?
Yeah, I do. I think that WLD right now is one of those comps where on live it's just going to play out better. You know, anything where you have a warrior, you need that gear, period.
And 892, a lot of people asking why isn't Insidia here, and Ryan Moore actually let us know they did invite Insidia to come back and play, but they were unable to, so SKEU did take that slot, and so far it's looking to be pretty good for the Europeans as they're a very dominant force.
While we're waiting for the next matchup, it does look like Button Bash is sitting down and getting all set up on the left-hand side of your screen, and of course, anyone who follows these tournaments and has been since the beginning, you know these faces on the right. We've seen another at numerous tournaments, and of course In Flames has been there right alongside him.
And right after this series, we will have another game between SKUS and Fnatic, two teams that are still, they're trying to get back into the swing of things. Fnatic actually picking up that win against BHMS, so they are sitting at 1-1, but SKUS, this will be their second game after coming off that loss against BHMS. So we're going to have to see one team that lost to BHMS, one team that won against them. Who deserves it more? SKUS really needing to bounce back. Are they going to be in a bad position as we're looking at the same place that EG's at currently?
So we'll be queuing back up pretty shortly right now, just waiting for these teams to get ready and waiting for the okay from the tournament admin for them to go.
And a lot of people asking about what do we want to see in the finals, what teams, and we kind of gave our predictions a little bit, but it's always nice to see some diversity in the top four on Sunday. I mean, I can't stop talking about it enough. Dallas was an amazing tournament. Even with having 5 RMPs, it was some of the best matches that I've had the pleasure of watching in a long time. And still, you look at the top 4, and it was one RMP that made it.
Yeah, but the formula to success, we were talking about this. When you go into a tournament, it's not like you don't know who's going to be there. Every single person that is on this tournament floor right now has known these players forever. Some of them might be gilded with each other if they're on Blackrot, on Sup Fresh It's Our Turn. I mean, how many of those guys talk to each other on a daily basis? You know what people are running. It's not like they have some secret comp that they're going to pull out of nowhere that you have nothing to answer with. These guys run RMP, bread and butter. Like, that's all they do. So, like Button Bashers, you know you have to prepare against them. They play kind of the same style every tournament. You know, they definitely switch up the target choices every match, but they're always going to be that RMP. You have to be able to beat RMP. Well, this tournament, last tournament before, beating RMP was basically the way to make it to the finals.
And now this is going to be a very interesting question. 906 Voltus asks, if you could take any 3 players from these teams and create a team, who would you pick?
All right. So let's, how about, I mean, there's a bunch of ways we can do this. We could do it by certain
I've already
comps.
got mine ready to rock. I've already got this.
All right, go ahead.
In Flames, Orange Marmalade, and Toes.
There you go. That is a great
I'm ready.
spell
Just
sling
put me
right
in,
there.
Coach. I'm telling you, that's it right there. All-star teams. That's what we need. All-star teams that we can create. Oh, man, that'd be a great tournament. We might have to see what we can do about that. Get everybody together and just do dodgeball style and pick up players and see what you get. But we're going to go ahead into Game 5 and finish up this series. It is going to be SKEU against EG. SKEU already winning at 3-1, but we do play out every single one of these games in the series. So let's go ahead into Blades Edge Arena for this 5th and final game.
So last time on Blades Edge Arena, we saw In Flames completely control the game beginning to end in terms of, well, not even need to say control. He just sat in the middle and spammed spells.
That's In Flames took care of business. We're swapping around SKEU on the left side and now EG on the right, but still those same comps. And it's going to be Warlock, DK, Druid versus Roguelock, Shaman. And still, it's about Smattens in this opener. Can they get momentum going? But even with Smats getting an opener in the last game, it was him that really took the brunt of the damage, and it didn't last very long at all.
What's great about having a DK on your team is, though, even though the Rogue is going to open on basically whoever he wants to, it turns out that DKs have a great answer to it. Not only do they have grip, they can hit you with chains basically anywhere in the arena.
And so far, Rogue's not having a good time with that at all. And another kind of bouncing out a little bit, but he's going to hang back for just a moment. And now we see those pets going to come in Flames and another. That's got to be a scary sight. D&D going down, and in goes the school all the way through. And now they're going to be in combat, but Smattens actually still just going to stay on the outside of that D&D and just wait it out. And we see a little bit, actually a good amount of damage rolling onto Azale already, and in comes another cheap shot onto him. Even see a flame shot from Doja. Looks like they're going to try to get a lot of early pressure out, and a Hex onto Inflame.
I just got noticed that this is actually a replay of the last match because a player lagged out apparently. So we are going to be, this is going to be the 4th match of the round actually right now. So Smatton's taking a bunch of damage right now. The Gargoyle is already out on him. So he's definitely going to be the target from this European team.
So not clearly a win for SKEU yet. Team EG still being in it. Now Smatton's taking a lot of damage already. Drops down below 10,000 HP. Picked back up immediately, but also Tenderloin's taking a lot of damage. Big fear onto Enigmas. He will trinket that, but a blind onto Inflames, which he will trinket that. And it looks like there'll be trinkets down for this team, but can Team EG do anything with it at this point?
And they're doing a great job of CCing. There was a fear followed by a spell lock, another fear onto Enigmas, but look at how long another is surviving with just those hots on him. And
now Enigma is actually caught in a very bad position, but Smatton's unable to get over to him. He's actually just going to stick onto another. Enigma's down to 10,000 HP, getting a little low on mana as well, going to haunt himself up. Tenderloin drops down to 10,000. We'll go ahead and NS himself, and in comes that Innervate, and Enigma's will be fine and pick himself up. Another, the one that's still under pressure, and Smatton's playing that hunger for blood and just trying to stick to a target. And as he goes up, tries to get back to another, and now we see it once again. A rogue being kited by chains of ice, unable to get over his target, even trying to devour it off so he can get over to another, but it's not even enough. And now we finally see a kidney shot, but another's not going to drop below 20,000 HP.
Not at all. And it, you know, EG didn't capitalize on that CC chain onto Enigmas, which is exactly what they needed to do. Smatton's right now getting picked up back to full by Tenderloin. Huge melee in the center of this bridge right now. It's still onto another, though, looking to try to dump as much damage as he can into him.
Another big fear onto Enigmas, though, and another's down below 10,000 HP with only a couple of hots rolling. 4,000 HP. In comes Drained Soul from Azale. Wow, he's so low, 3,000 HP. And down goes another EG scoring a kill. It's not over yet, apparently. We're going to be tied up at 2-2 between EG and SKEU. So apparently us talking so much about SKEU being dominant, not the case just yet.
Very interesting play right there. We saw that early CC chain. I thought it was going to be over at that point. I mean, he was hit a fear, a spell lock, and a fear just right in a row. But another with all those defensive cooldowns as a DK plus the chains of ice kiting. I mean, he did a great job of keeping himself as alive as long as he did.
And so we do apologize for the confusion, but that game was lagged out previous to this one. At score on your screen is correct. It is 2 EG versus SKEU at 2. We are tied up. It's going to come down to a 5th and final game to decide which one of these teams wants it more.
So I wonder who lagged out that last time because, you know, if it was that European team, I thought they got rid of Paper Cat.
Oh, here you go. See, now this is why we can't have nice things, is because things like that get started.
It's okay. Paper Cat will always respond.
All right, looks like they're ready to do this. It's going to be on Dalaran Arena, Game 5. All comes down to this. On the right side of your screen, that's SKEU. On the left side, that is not Azale, I promise. That was Button Bashers. But we're going to go ahead and get things started. Honestly, EG bouncing back strong in that game. And honestly, all it is Smatton's playing Hunger for Blood and sitting on another start to finish. Even when Azale got Enigma's low, they're telling Smatton's, do not get off your target. We know you're going to get grip. We know you're going to get Chains of Ice Span. Stay on what you can.
Exactly, and that's the name of the story right here. You got to be looking for a target that you can stay on without getting, you know, completely controlled, and of course that means you have to stick on the DK. Now, one of the things we've talked about before, especially on this map, is going to be the grip down to the bottom, and it's going to be tough for another to get it off.
Honestly, I don't even see another having that opportunity because once Smatton's does open, it's going to be on him. And he's not really going to get to kite down to the bottom area. And even if he does, expect Team EG to be there along with him trying to put damage into him.
And we haven't followed Azale out much of this tournament, so we'll go ahead and do that. This veteran Warlock of the tournament scene. We've seen him all over the place and at a bunch of tournaments, so let's see if he can prove that he's a better Warlock than In Flames.
Game 5, EG, SKEU, and now we see Azale going to go ahead behind the boxes, put up his portal. A few dots going to roll around and onto pets. Anything they can is going to be these two Warlocks. Tenderloin's going to go ahead and top his mana back off as these games have been going pretty long. Azale out towards the middle getting a UA off, but he's going to get UA'd himself. And now we see a Haunt finally going up. There's the opener onto another once again. Haunt going up, no UA just yet, just a couple dots rolling. And now some damage going over to Smattens as well as while he's being feared. So Smattens the one to be controlled. Gargoyle already being used. And now we see it, Smattens finally getting back over to another. A little bit of damage, but he's still hovering around 20,000. Not as much pressure as before, but in comes the Bloodlust. Now's when things need to get started. Smattens still just kind of standing out in the middle of nowhere, not really able to do anything. And finally, another's going to come back around as he's fully haunted, and the damage is really starting to tick onto Team EG.
Big fear onto Enigmas right now, but look at the hit points. All those Hots are doing their work. Big gnaw right now onto Tenderloins. Looks like they might switch on top of him.
And he was followed immediately by a Strangulate and a War Stomp, so Tenderloin's in a little bit of trouble. He will go ahead and NS Smatten, so very early NS. Enigma's innervating, so both of these teams going through their cooldowns very, very quickly. Now we do see those dots taking onto another once again, but Hot's keeping up easily with it, and now we see pressure onto Enigma's actually bouncing around 13,000 HP, but he's going to be able to kite away just fine. And now we're going to see a swap from Smattens, but he's just being Chains of Ice as we see another just kiting away and finally getting back over to him. But what's going to happen? Another Chains of Ice as Spider-Manx or another is just going to jump away and spam Death Coils.
Tenderloin's doing great with the mana right now. We got a full mana tied off right there.
And now comparing it, oh, we do have a blind on Inflames, but that will be broken immediately. Now look to Smattens though, a lot of dots rolling onto him, so taking a good amount of damage, but actually able to get over to another. AMS is up as UA and Haunt will be ticking onto him. Now we have a Hex on Inflames finally getting cleansed by Enigmas, and now the Mana War is going to be coming down to the wire as both teams have went through their cooldowns. And now we see a great grip onto Smattens, who's hovering around 13,000 HP, drops below 10k, 8k HP, but not a lot of dots rolling, and will go ahead and cloak, but gets gnawed, but he will be picked up to full by Tenderloins. Tenderloins doing a great job, and Enigmas down to that 3,300, under 3k mana mark.
Which isn't good. Okay, we have a spell lock onto Enigmas right now. Looks like Inflame's going to be taking a brunt of the damage from this team of EG. Smatten still, his life bar is bouncing up and down this entire match. Fear onto another right now. Oh, but look at all these dots that Azale has up. Inflame's picking his pet back up with that funnel.
And now we see Smatten still hovering around 10,000, down to 5,000 HP. In comes a Riptide, picks him up to 6k, but nothing following. Finally, a 6k heal, and now we see him finally getting picked up a little bit, but still hovering around 6,000 HP. But look over to Enigmas, down to 5,000 HP himself, only an Agony ticking in on him at the moment. Tenderloin's having a tough time keeping up, but Enigma's out of mana at this point, and really EG has to go for something here. Enigma's Death Coiled, 4,000 HP. Smattens is getting across. Enigma's trying to get away, caught into a kidney. Trinkets, 2,000 HP, 500 HP. Down goes Enigma. Smattens will stay up, and it looks like the reign of SKEU is over. EG, even with those two new players, going to take the series 3-2 over the Europeans.
EG definitely proven they deserve to be here. They deserve that invite. What a great match right there. The momentum swung back and forth. It was a mana game for a little while. Enigma's almost got away right at the end with that trinket to the travel form. But look at that, Inflames going down with that.
He's so low. Just fine. There we go, Inflames. Come on. 500 HP. No, not quite yet. He says, I'm going to stick with this and just let another die first. But it was actually really close for a moment there. Tenderloins was down to no mana. Look at these two just staying alive forever. And come on, Inflames. You can do it, buddy. 1,800 HP as he just kites around the box trying to get away. And Smatten's actually fully dotted up, taking a little bit of damage, and Tenderloins out of mana. And finally, they're going to leave the arena, sealing the deal. EG going to take the series, win it 3-2.
That was definitely the most exciting round we've seen so far at the tournament. I mean, the switches back and forth. Great play by every player in there. We saw the switch onto Enigmas early, which every single time that Smatten gets off of another, it seems like he's gripped right back to him.
I cannot imagine how frustrated Smattens is right now with trying to get onto a target and stay there, and instead just being snared the entire game, or feared, or something, or just sitting there not being able to play his character. But that's going to conclude the series. The Europeans losing that 2-3 against Team EG, so a very exciting game. We will be moving on to our next match in just a moment, but we're going to take a quick commercial break here live in Anaheim for the Major League Gaming 2009 PC circuit played on HP.